She confided in the wrong guy, a dark twist with her millionaire boss at 3 a.m., the clock struck 3. The moon hung heavy in the sky, casting eerie shadows across the sleek marble floors of the high-rise office. Jessica's heart thundered in her chest as she typed out her final report. The silence hummed with an unsettling tension. Alone at this hour, she felt the weight of secrets pressing against her. Secrets that could change everything. She had realized, too late, that confiding in her boss, the enigmatic and wealthy Caleb Miller, was a choice fraught with danger. The whispers among the staff about his intense gaze and mysterious past echoed in her mind. In that moment, she felt like a moth drawn to an irresistibly flickering flame. Just then, the buzzing of her phone shattered the stillness. An unknown number flashed across the screen. Hesitant, she accepted the call. Jessica? A cool, collected voice sent shivers down her spine. It was Caleb. It's late. Can you meet me? There's something we need to discuss. His tone was stern, yet oddly inviting. Her stomach nodded. What could he possibly want at this hour? The atmosphere grew thick with unspoken tension. She felt an inexplicable pull. Was it dread? Or oddly enough, excitement? She made her way down the darkened hall, her footsteps echoing like thunder in her ears. The elevator doors slid open, revealing a mystery waiting to unfold. As she descended to the dimly lit parking garage, her senses heightened. Shadows danced in the corners, and every sound seemed amplified. What was it about this man, this night, this place that made the hairs on the back of her neck stand up? She could almost hear the pulse of her own heartbeat, matched by the rhythmic echo of her shoes against the cold concrete. Danger lurked in the periphery, and curiosity surged like a wave inside her. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As she stepped into the garage, the air shifted. Dim overhead lights flickered ominously above, casting a ghostly pallor over the sleek black Mercedes idling nearby. Caleb leaned against the car, his silhouette sharp against the shadows. His piercing gaze locked onto hers. You were brave to come. He laughed softly, but it held an edge that made her shiver. Are you ready for the truth? The words hung between them, thick with promise and threat. Jessica felt the weight of something approaching, something dangerous, exhilarating, and terrifying all at once. The closed garage hummed with unresolved stories, and this was only the beginning. What was so crucial that it couldn't wait for daylight? Her mind raced with questions, not knowing she was about to uncover a revelation that would shatter her world. Jessica's pulse quickened as Caleb pushed himself away from the car, closing the distance between them. The overpowering scent of his expensive cologne enveloped her, mixing with the metallic tang of fear that lingered in the air. You need to know what I've been hiding, he said, his voice dipping low, as if he were sharing a stunning secret. A part of her wanted to back away, to flee into the safety of the office, but she stood rooted to the spot. What do you mean? She managed to reply, her voice barely above a whisper. He studied her with an intensity that made her breath hitch. I've been watching you. Your potential, your ambition, it's rare. His eyes flickered with something unspoken, a darkness that felt both enticing and foreboding. Why wouldn't you just tell me in the morning? Jessica felt her throat tighten, the confidence she had earlier slipping away like sand through her fingers. The protective walls she had built around herself were crumbling. Caleb took a step closer, and she could see the faint sheen of sweat glistening on his brow. Because there are things, dangerous things that you need to understand. Things that involve my past. He paused, letting his words linger in the chilly air. She swallowed hard, not sure she wanted to know. What could that possibly have to do with me? With a sudden urgency, he lowered his voice further. I had a reason for hiring you. You remind me of someone important. He hesitated, and for a fleeting moment, vulnerability washed over him. But it was quickly gone, replaced with a predator's gleam. She's dead now. The word struck her like a physical blow, leaving her stunned. What happened? She asked, fear igniting in her chest. His gaze darted to the garage entrance, his jaw clenched. There are people who don't want that history uncovered. And you. He let the statement hang, a warning etched in his features. Jessica's stomach dropped. And what if I don't want any part of this? Each word came out shaky, the weight of his revelation threatening to knock her off balance. Caleb's lips twisted into a knowing smile, but there was nothing reassuring about it. Too late for that, Jess. You're already in deeper than you think. A flicker of movement in the shadows caught her eye. Instinctively, she stepped back, scanning the dark corners of the garage. This wasn't just a late-night meeting anymore, it was a danger zone. Lights flickered ominously overhead, and she felt trapped. Wait, what do you mean? She stammered as a sudden part of her wanted to bolt. What is it you're not telling me? Just then, the sound of approaching footsteps grew louder, echoing through the expansive space. Jessica's breath caught in her throat. Panic surged as she instinctively reached for her phone, contemplating whether to call for help or flee. Caleb nearly pressed against her, urgency flaring in his eyes. Listen closely. You have to trust me. If they find out you're tied to me, you'll be in lethal danger. Before he could finish, the garage doors rattled violently, and fear clawed at her insides. A chill gripped her heart as shadows began to pour into the light. A group of figures moving swiftly towards them, faces obscured by the dim lighting, their intentions unknown. Get in the car. Caleb barked, the fear in his own eyes now unmistakable. Jessica barely had time to react. She felt herself being pushed, the reality of the moment settling in like ice in her veins. What tangled web had she unknowingly walked into? The darkness loomed closer, and as she turned to run, one icy thought pierced her confusion. Who could she trust now? The last image burned into her mind was Caleb's panicked expression just before everything went black. The adrenaline rushed through her as she realized the extent of the danger closing in. This was just the beginning, and the real game was only starting. What if she was the next target? The darkness engulfed her like a suffocating blanket. Jessica's mind raced, frantically piecing together the fragmented thoughts that echoed like gunshots in her head. Where had she gone wrong? Trusting Caleb? That was mistake number one. She felt herself jerk upright, her body responding before her mind could process the urgency. As her vision adjusted, she realized she was in the back seat of an unfamiliar car. The engine hummed softly, fueling a sense of urgency. Panic surged again. Where was Caleb? She glanced over, but he wasn't there. Caleb? She called out, her voice shaky. Her mind flashed back to the last moments, the flickering shadows closing in around them. What had happened next? Suddenly, a door swung open, and Caleb slipped into the driver's seat, ashen-faced, sweat trickling down the side of his neck. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, he breathed out, slamming the door shut as he fumbled with the keys. We need to get out of here. Now. What is going on? Jessica's throat ached as anxiety clawed at her stomach like a rabid animal. Who are those people? It's complicated. Just drive. He shouted, startling her. The urgency in his tone turned her fear into raw adrenaline. Caleb turned the key, and the car roared to life. Tires squealed against the slick concrete as he jerked the wheel and sped down the dimly lit road. Her heart pounded hard in her chest, drowning out reason. You owe me an explanation. She demanded, the anger slicing through the fog of terror. The people chasing us, they're not just thugs, he said, glancing sideways, tension radiating through his body. They're connected to me, and to her. The weight of his words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken truths and faded memories that felt chillingly close. Who? Even as she pressed, part of her hesitated, afraid of where this truth might lead. He hesitated, clenching his jaw as he focused on the road. My past, there are things I thought I left behind. Sylvia, she was a journalist, and she got too close to the truth. Caleb's voice was a low rasp, pained and haunted. I couldn't protect her from what? You can't just drop bombshells like enough, Jess. His sharp tone silenced her, the car veering slightly as his grip tightened on the wheel. I've already put you in danger. It's my fault. Despair washed over her. Your fault? You brought me into this. I thought it was safe. I thought I could keep you out of it. Excitement coursed through his veins. But they know you're with me. They'll come for you next. The reality of his words gnawed at her insides. Following his gaze, she spotted headlights in the rearview mirror. They were behind them, chasing them. What do we do? She cried, heart racing as dread piled upon dread. Trust me, just hold on. Caleb shouted, shifting gears, pushing the car harder, faster. They sped deeper into the night, the lights of the city shrinking in the distance. But there was nowhere to hide, and Jessica felt the icy fingers of fear tighten around her throat, suffocating her bargain of safety. Caleb, she started, but before she could complete her sentence, an explosion of light exploded as they entered an unlit area of twisted alleyways. Her mind reeled. If they were caught, there would be no second chances. Suddenly, she caught sight of a dark SUV barreling towards them. Brace yourself! Caleb yelled. Jessica's heart dropped as the approaching vehicle slammed into them, the world around her spinning into a horrifying blur, and then darkness. What awaited her on the other side of consciousness? Would she emerge alone, or would Caleb's secret consume them both? Cold. That was the first sensation Jessica felt as her eyelids flickered open. It stung like needles against her skin. Each breath felt laborious, shallow, and entangled with an unbearable weight on her chest. She gasped, her mind clouded and disoriented. Where was she? The metallic scent of blood mixed with oil and gasoline crept into her lungs. Blinking away the haze, she took her surroundings in dim light filtering through broken windows, shards of glass scattered like jagged teeth across the floor. Panic wrapped around her throat. Each heartbeat thudded loudly in her ears. Caleb? She croaked, her voice barely a whisper. The name felt foreign yet familiar. Voices echoed nearby, muffled but clear enough to send chills racing down her spine. They were close. Too close. She struggled to push herself up, but a sharp pain shot through her shoulder, pinning her back down. A shudder of dread coursed through her. They weren't safe yet. Then she spotted him, Caleb, slumped against the wall, his shirt stained dark with what seemed to be his blood. He was conscious, but barely. His face was drawn tight, lips pressed into a thin line, eyes an unfocused storm. Jess, you're awake. His voice was gravelly, filled with a mixture of relief and agony. Despite the frayed edges of his condition, he managed a weak smile that twisted into a grimace. What happened? Panic clawed at her insides, tightening into a knot. We crashed, they hit us hard, he breathed, each word a splinter of pain. We have to get out before they. The door was flung open, and silhouettes loomed like shadows promising doom. Jessica's breath hitched. Instinct kicked in, and without thinking, she crawled toward Caleb, grabbing his hand. Hold on to me, she urged, adrenaline coursing through her veins as she glanced frantically for an exit, but Caleb shook his head, urgency radiating from him. No, Jess. You have to listen. They'll want us both. If they take you, I'm not leaving you. The words flew out, fierce and determined. Suddenly, a figure stepped into the light, tall, imposing, face obscured by shadows, but the familiar glint of malice glimmered in his eyes. Caleb, the man spoke with a calm menace, I have what I came for. Leave her out of this. Caleb struggled to rise, but the agony brought him back down, limbs heavy with the weight of despair. Jessica watched helplessly, anger and fear battling within her. Each nod of the man's head felt like a countdown. She needed a plan. She needed to escape. You're a fool, Caleb. You should have walked away when you had the chance, the man continued, an edge of mocking laughter lacing his voice. But it's too late now. Heart racing, Jessica's eyes scanned the room. A broken metal rod lay near the shattered remains of a chair. Determination coursed through her like fire. She shifted carefully, inching closer, heart pounding as hope clashed with reality. Caleb, we have to fight. We can't let them win. The fervor in her voice surprised even her. In that moment, the world shrank to just the two of them, locked in a battle of wills against an unseen enemy. Trust me, Jess, he rasped, whatever happens, I need you to remember. But before he could finish, the shadows began to swallow them whole. The sweet weight of darkness dropped like a curtain, shrouding the scene as a gunshot shattered the silence, reverberating like thunder, leaving uncertainty and dread in its wake. Would their fight for survival end in ruin? Or was this the beginning of an even darker truth? Darkness enveloped Jessica, but her heart still pounded with a relentless rhythm, each beat echoing in the silence that followed the gunshot. She felt paralyzed. Was that sound Caleb's last gasp? Caleb! She called out, desperation clinging to every syllable. No answer. Just the oppressive quiet that pressed in on her like a vice. Instinct fueled her movements. She rolled, the jagged pain in her shoulder flaring sharply but propelling her toward Caleb's slumped form. His chest rose and fell, struggling for air, but the fear in her gut told her that time was running out. Please, please, don't be dead, she whispered as she reached him, lightly shaking his shoulders. His eyes fluttered open, but the spark of awareness seemed to dim with each passing second. Get out, Jess, he fought for breath, each word resonating with harsh rasping sounds. She shook her head, tears threatening to spill over. No. We can't leave each other. We have to fight. We can't let him take us. The figure stepped closer, a silhouette of maleficence against the faint light. His mouth curled into a sardonic smile. How sweet, he laughed softly. But you both know it's too late for courage now. Jessica recoiled, mounting fury igniting the fear flickering in her chest. What do you want? The truth hurts, he sneered, each deliberate step toward them amplifying the dread in her blood. And you're going to learn the hard way. A flash of inspiration ignited within her. She had to stall him, to buy them time. What do you mean? The man paused, intrigued. You really don't know? I expected better from Caleb's little companion. Companion? Caleb interjected, his voice weak but laced with defiance. Jessica is more than that. You have no idea who you're dealing with. The man laughed, but there was a tremor of uncertainty in it. Do I? Have you forgotten who pulled the strings in this game? I know everything about you, Jessica. And trust me, this is just the beginning. An icy grip clutched at her heart. Was it possible he had some hidden knowledge, a truth she had yet to uncover? But focusing on that could get them killed. Summoning all her will, she edged closer to Caleb and whispered, I'm going to reach for that metal rod. You have to create a diversion when I do. He barely nodded, his eyes narrowing with renewed determination, a flicker of the fighter she knew still alive inside him. The man in the shadows sensed the shift. Ah, that's cute. But little girls shouldn't play with weapons. In one swift motion, Jessica snatched the metal rod and gripped it, its coldness seeping into her palm. Look at you. He taunted, but the slightest edge of fear colored his voice. You think you can threaten me? I've got an army of shadows waiting outside. Then let them come. Jessica shouted, adrenaline surging through her veins. You're not going to take either of us alive. Caleb pushed himself to a seated position, pain evident on his face but resolve hardening his features. "We're stronger than your army," he added, voice fierce and raspy. "We'll fight together." Time froze in the tension-filled air, the three of them locked in a moment where fear battled with resilience. For what felt like an eternity, Jessica's heart thundered in anticipation of an explosion, either of chaos or salvation. As the man narrowed his eyes, a warning flickered across his face, a crack in the facade of confidence. Yet before Jessica could move, an exploding crash shattered the moment. An entrance burst open, the blinding light slicing through the shadows so violently that Jessica shielded her eyes. "Get down!" A voice shouted, one she didn't recognize, booming against the night. Another gunshot echoed, but this time it was joined by frantic footsteps pounding toward them, headlights from outside flooding the room with deceptive safety. What had just burst into their lives? Who was coming to their rescue? Or was this just the beginning of an even darker descent into danger? A cacophony of chaos erupted around Jessica as shadows danced in frantic motions. Her heart raced, an electric pulse underscoring the tension. The heavy boot storming through the newly opened entrance belonged to figures she couldn't decipher, allies or enemies, monsters or saviors. The blinding light before her faded slightly, revealing silhouette after silhouette, each one brandishing weapons that glinted ominously. Jessica squinted, trying to make sense of it. "Caleb," she hissed, her grip tightening around the metal rod. "Stay behind me," he croaked, raising a hand despite his obvious pain. The urge to protect him surged within her, but a voice in her head rasped for common sense. If they were caught in crossfire, they wouldn't make it. "Over there," one of the newcomers yelled, pointing straight at the dark figure who had been toying with them seconds before. In the throbbing influx of light and sound, that figure melted back into the shadows like a specter. "Don't let him escape," another shouted, and then gunfire erupted, sharp and menacing. Jessica flinched, instinctively crouching lower as bullets tore through the remaining darkness. "Caleb, we need to move," she yelled, urgency coursing through her. But he was slower, his body visibly weakening, and fear gnawed at her. I can't just leave." His voice trailed off, desperation lacing his words as he pushed against the ground, trying to gain his footing. Before they could devise a plan, a scream shattered the air, high and piercing. Jessica felt it in her bones. It was the kind of sound that sliced through adrenaline and anchored terror straight to her heart. "What was that?" Caleb wheezed, his gaze darting around frantically. "I don't know," she cried, but she had no intention of sticking around to find out. She helped him to his feet, and together they stumbled into the blinding chaos of the room flooded with light. Each step sent jolts of pain through her shoulder, the metallic rod clutched tightly in her trembling hand. "Group up," another voice boomed, now closer. A rush of bodies surged past them, forming a protective barrier, faces masked with urgency and grit. Jessica felt the swell of uncertainty. Were they truly here to save her, or was this all part of a larger, darker plot? Suddenly, someone grabbed her arm. Jessica whirled, but it was a woman, eyes fierce beneath a helmet, brandishing a rifle. "You with the wounded boy?" she barked. "Yes. We need to get out," Jessica replied, her voice rising above the chaos. "Follow my lead," the woman commanded, leading the way through a pathway framed by chaos. Caleb leaned on Jessica, each stride testing their frail strength. "The cars are this way," another soldier shouted, aiming their weapon at a figure lurking in the shadows. "Cover me." But then a flash fire erupted in the corner, igniting smoke and panic. The acrid smell of burning debris filled the air, forcing Jessica to cough and pull Caleb closer. "Keep moving," she urged, pushing them forward even as uncertainty churned her stomach. As they rounded a corner, Jessica caught sight of more figures approaching, emerging from the chaos, shadows stretching ominously toward them. And then, she heard it, a low, mocking laugh slicing through the air, unmistakable in its familiarity. "You really thought you could escape me?" Not him, Caleb gasped, his face turning pale. He's back. The allies came to a staggering halt. Jessica's heart sank. The man was here again, a spectre too confident for his own good, and he wasn't done with them yet. What had he really unleashed? And what truths were yet to surface in the encroaching night? The clock was ticking, and the stakes were higher than ever. The atmosphere shifted as shadows swirled and coiled around them, the tension thick enough to cut with a knife. Jessica's heart hammered against her ribcage, a frantic drumbeat that overshadowed the chaos unraveling around her. "Run!" The woman with the rifle shouted, her voice slicing through the confusion. Movement jolted Jessica from her frozen state, and she instinctively whipped around. Caleb stumbled, nearly toppling over. "Caleb! Come on!" she urged, her nails digging into his arm. He needed to move, but his fear was a heavy weight, anchoring him in place. "Jessica, what if it's a trap?" His voice cracked, panic lacing his words. The familiar laugh echoed again, chilling her to the bone. "There's no time for that," she hissed, pushing him forward. The soldiers around them steadied their weapons, eyes darting for movement in the encroaching darkness. The laughter wrapped around Jessica, squeezing her lungs. It was a taunt, a cruel reminder of the control he had over them. The woman led them deeper into the fray, urgency bubbling in every word she barked as they veered around blazing debris. "Stick close. Form a line." Bullets whizzed, ricocheting off steel and concrete, splintering the atmosphere. Each report sent her heart racing faster than the last. A chorus of shouts erupted, desperate cries mixed with orders that melded into a cacophony of survival instincts. "Move! Move! What's taking so long?" A soldier shouted, his voice a razor in the pandemonium. Jessica pressed Caleb against the wall, seeking the briefest moment of cover, then the world turned. Smoke billowed, thick and choking, swirling in on itself and blotting out the light. "Is this how it all ends?" She shook her head, dispelling the creeping dread. "They wouldn't die here." Not like this. From the smoke, figures re-emerged, some clad in military fatigues, others in dark attire that radiated menace. Their eyes reflected a primal hunger. The laughter grew louder, a taunting specter that toyed with their fate. "Forward!" The soldier yelled again, and Jessica felt a surge of desperation. They had to forge ahead, had to escape. "Everyone stay together. Go!" Jessica shouted to Caleb, and for the first time, he nodded, resolve flickering in his pale eyes. They surged forward, a haphazard group rushing toward the shining promise of the exit. Then the air crackled with tension as the dark figure reappeared, gliding lithely as if mocking gravity. "Did you truly think you could escape so easily?" Fear rose within Jessica, a primal instinct that choked her will to fight. "What do you want?" she screamed, breaking from the pack momentarily. "You're out of options." He chuckled, the sound malicious and smooth, slithering into her ears. "Oh, but dear Jessica, I have so many options. And you all are just pieces on my board." A loud crash shattered the near silence that followed, drawing all attention. An explosion rocked the far side of the room, sending debris raining down like deadly hail. The squad staggered as another wave of heat surged towards them, igniting panic. "Move! Now!" The woman pointed toward a narrowing escape route to their right. Time was running out. As they sprinted toward that flicker of hope, Jessica stole one last glance back. The figure stood, watching, smiling with cold eyes that promised a reckoning. She could feel the weight of his gaze, heavy and invasive, as if the shadows were reaching out to pull her back. In that moment, she couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. Secrets were lurking in every corner, threads of betrayal woven tightly through the chaos, threatening to come undone. "Jessica!" Caleb's shout jolted her back. They were seconds from the exit, but her mind raced with unanswered questions. Did they truly escape? What awaited them outside? As they burst into the night air, the roar of the chaos behind them faded, but dread gnawed at her gut because she realized, it might take more than just escaping to be free. Who was that? She whispered, barely audible, her breath heavy with fear, and as they reached the edge of the light, an ominous voice lingered in her mind. What if the true enemy was closer than she thought? The cold air outside hit Jessica like a slap, biting at her skin, but it was the adrenaline coursing through her veins that pushed her onward. She couldn't afford to linger. Every instinct screamed that danger still lurked behind them, a malignant shadow gaining ground. Where do we go? Caleb panted, his eyes wide with fear. That question hung in the air, a jagged truth she hadn't wanted to confront. The world outside had morphed into a surreal landscape. Burning wreckage illuminated the night, casting eerie shadows that danced wildly. Follow me. The woman with the rifle barked, charging ahead with an intensity that made Jessica's gut twist. She felt her pulse thudding in her throat as she yanked Caleb forward. They sprinted past overturned vehicles, their tires still smoking. Each step felt heavy, but the weight of uncertainty pumped fresh fear into her limbs. Was their escape truly just a short respite? The laughter echoed in her mind, a cruel reminder. It was a luxury she could scarcely afford. Suddenly, gunfire erupted from behind them, a staccato of chaos that ricocheted through the darkness. Jessica's heart plummeted. They couldn't stop now. They had to get away. At the edge of a nearby alley, the soldier threw a hand up. We need cover now. They darted into the shadows, hearts racing, the clamor of the city around them seeming distant yet suffocating. In the narrow confines of the alley, the sounds of the outside began to fade, replaced by a heavy silence that dampened their breaths. Caleb leaned against a cool brick wall, chest rising and falling rapidly. What the hell just happened back there? His voice was thick, laden with disbelief. Jessica shook her head, a sense of urgency gripping her as she scanned the area. I don't know, but we can't stay here for long. We have to keep moving. Before she could step into the street, a flicker of movement caught her eye. In the murky distance, a figure stood silhouetted against the flames. Her heart raced anew. Could it be him? The dark figure who had taunted them so easily? Jessica. Caleb's voice pulled her from her thoughts. He pointed down the alley, where another soldier appeared, urgency written across his face. There's another way out. Come on. They followed him deeper into the narrow passage, each footfall echoing in the oppressive darkness. The flickering light from distant fires illuminated the soldier's face momentarily, a stranger bearing the weight of an unseen burden. Where is everyone? Jessica demanded, fear tightening her chest. I don't know, he replied, glancing nervously over his shoulder. But if we don't keep moving, we'll find out soon enough. The alley twisted and turned, leading them into a forgotten part of the city that reeked of abandonment. Jessica's senses heightened. She could hear muffled voices behind them, closing in. Go faster. She urged, adrenaline spurring her forward. Then, like ice water thrown over her soul, a bone-chilling silence draped over the group. It felt wrong, too quiet. They reached an enormous, rusted door at the end of the alley. This way. We can hide here. The soldier fumbled with the latch, urgency giving way to desperation. With a powerful shove, the door creaked open, revealing an expansive, empty warehouse that has seen its better days. Dust motes hung in the air like lost dreams. Get inside. He instructed, motioning for them to slip through. Jessica hesitated only a second, glancing back the way they'd come. But then she felt it again, the cold weight of being watched. It was familiar, and it terrified her. Focusing on the darkness within, she stood firm. Let us go. As they stepped inside, the door slammed shut behind them, a finality that sent her heart racing. The soldier's breathing was frantic, hard and ragged like a cornered animal. We can't stay long, he said, looking around nervously. Get down behind those crates. Jessica and Caleb followed the soldier's command, crouching low, heartbeats drumming in their ears like a war march. A creeping dread washed over her as they settled into the shadows, the vastness of the warehouse. Wrapping around them like a suffocating blanket, suddenly, there was that laugh again, echoing, mocking, chilling her to the bone. "She's found you." The voice slipped through the air, weaving into their reality like a razor-blade whisper. Jessica's eyes widened in horror. The lingering doubt twisted in her mind: was the enemy truly outside, or had the walls of this warehouse just become another prison? As Caleb squeezed her hand, she knew whatever game was being played was far from over. "Stay close," she whispered, trying to quell the rising fear. But the shadows seemed to pulse around them. What was she about to lose? What darkness awaited them in the depths of the warehouse? The question loomed as the echo of the laugh faded into silence like a ghost, leaving behind a suffocating sense of dread. The dim light from a flickering fluorescent bulb above buzzed ominously, casting long shadows that stretched into the corners of the warehouse. Jessica pressed deeper behind the crates, her pulse racing as she fought to steady her breathing. The chilling laugh hung in the air like a noxious cloud, wrapping around her thoughts and threatening to choke her. "What if they find us?" Caleb whispered, his voice barely a tremor above the heavy silence. His eyes darted toward the darkened door, the threshold that had promised safety but now felt like a trap. "They want tea." "We can't be easy targets," the soldier insisted, his voice strained but commanding. He peered through a gap between crates, scanning the warehouse like a hawk seeking prey. Each second felt like an eternity. Jessica's limbs felt thick with tension, and her throat ached from holding back the panic that bubbled just below the surface. Every creak of the old warehouse made her flinch, and she could almost taste the fear mingling with the dust in the air. Who was that? What does she want? Caleb's voice wavered, fear splintering through every word. "I don't know, but we need to stay quiet." The soldier's face was a mask of concentration, a mix of determination and dread that mirrored Jessica's own. Suddenly, a loud bang echoed through the space, a vicious sound that tore through the silence like a gunshot. Jessica jumped, her heart thundering in response. "What was that?" she gasped, her voice cracking. "Stay low," the soldier hissed, panic creeping into his tone. He turned sharply, and Jessica followed his gaze. The door they had entered through trembled slightly, and Jessica strained to listen. A whisper of movement reached her ears, dragging closer, drawing nearer, a shuffling sound that made her skin crawl. "She knows we're here," Caleb whispered, squeezing her hand harder. Jessica could only nod, a lump forming in her throat. She didn't want to believe that whatever hunted them had figured out their hiding place. They had a fleeting moment of darkness, but now it felt as if the shadows were alive, stalking them, eager to consume them whole. The soldier moved, edging toward a nearby stack of crates for a better view. Jessica held her breath, afraid that any sound would betray them. But then came the unmistakable clack of heels, sharp, staccato, ominous. "Is anyone in here?" A sultry voice called out, smooth as silk yet sharp enough to cut. It sent chills racing down Jessica's spine. With every syllable, Jessica felt the walls closing in. "It's her. It's that voice," she murmured, her stomach twisting at the recognition. "Don't make a sound," the soldier warned, his eyes wide with fear now mirroring hers. The gravity of their situation pressed down like a vice. Jessica felt her heart race faster. A horrible realization slithered through her mind. This woman, the dark figure who had tormented them, was not just their pursuer but a master of manipulation. She had ensnared them in a game, and they were merely pieces on her board. Come out, wherever you are." The voice oozed mockery, echoing through the cavernous space. "Why are you doing this?" Caleb shouted, his voice rising from fear to a desperate challenge. Silence fell. The atmosphere shifted, thickened, and Jessica felt dread coil tight inside her, a snake ready to strike. "That's the fun part, darling," the woman replied, her voice dripping with amusement as she stepped further into the light. revealing herself. You get to find out what happens next. Jessica's breath caught. Who was this woman? What did she want from them? The gravity of their predicament seemed impossibly steep, and dread pooled in Jessica's stomach, but before she could draw another breath, the soldier moved, trying to position himself between the woman and them. "Stay back!" he shouted, his voice fierce, and just like that, everything shifted. A new terror lanced through the air as the woman stepped closer, and a gun glinted in the low light. "Oh, I don't think you understand your situation." The heavy silence deepened as they all instinctively held their breath, suspended between fear and the unknown. What was about to unfold in the shadows of the warehouse? Jessica's heart raced, and she knew their nightmare was only just beginning. And with that unsettling thought, a new chilling laugh pierced the air, echoing off the crumbling walls, leaving Jessica with a single haunting question: how did they get here, and would they ever escape? Jessica's heart pounded in her chest, the reality of their situation tightening like a noose. The woman's presence dripped with malice, her confidence radiating from the gun that gleamed ominously in her hand. The soldier positioned himself, ready to protect them, but Jessica's thoughts spiraled. How could they escape? "This isn't the end, you know," the woman taunted, letting the words hang like smoke. "You can't hide from your past, Caleb." Her eyes flickered with dark amusement, as if she feasted on the fear coursing through them. Caleb's expression shifted, resolve washed over him like a wave. "You don't know what you're dealing with," he spat, his voice shaky yet fierce. For a moment, he seemed to gain strength from his pain, igniting a flicker of hope within Jessica's chest. The soldier took a defensive stance. "You don't have to do this," he shouted, his voice echoing against the frayed remnants of the warehouse. His chest heaved, but Jessica could see the fire in his eyes, the urge to fight for survival crackling like electricity in the air. "Oh, but I do. This is too delicious to pass up." The woman's laugh rang out, a sharp sound that slashed through the tension. "You see, each of you has something to lose. And I intend to make you feel every bit of that loss." Jessica clenched the metal rod tightly, her mind racing with a single thought: survival. This woman, whoever she was, had turned their lives into a game. She couldn't let her win. "We'll fight," Jessica shouted, her voice stronger than she felt. "Together." The soldier shot her a look of fierce determination. "Then let us make it count," he said, grounding them in an understanding that in that moment, they were not alone. Caleb's eyes softened, his fear turned into something harder, a fiery resolve building between them. The woman's delight morphed into impatience. "Ah, but do you really think strength in numbers will save you?" Before she could dive deeper into her taunts, the soldier charged forward. The moment hung suspended in time as Jessica and Caleb propelled themselves after him. Fear pulsed through her, snapping her senses together, sharpening them to a just out of reach clarity. As they moved, the soldier launched himself at the woman, but she sidestepped effortlessly, her laughter echoing in the cavernous warehouse. "You think mere threats scare me?" she sneered, aiming her gun again. "Now!" Jessica yelled, adrenaline coursing through her as she swung the metal rod with all her might, striking the woman's arm. The gun clattered to the ground, and chaos exploded. Caleb seized the moment, launching himself at the woman, knocking her to the ground. "Get the gun!" Jessica shouted, eyes darting between Caleb and the soldier, who dashed to retrieve it, urgency propelling his every step. But the woman wasn't finished. Sweeping her legs, she caught Caleb off guard, sending him sprawling backward. "You think this is over? You have no idea how deep this goes," she screeched, fury twisting her features into something darker. "Together!" Jessica screamed again, running to help Caleb as he struggled back to his feet. The soldier gripped the gun tightly, the weight of the weapon settling heavy in his hands. "Don't move," he commanded, his voice forceful but shaky as he aimed it at the woman. A twisted smile curled on her lips. "You think you can make me? I have more power than you can fathom." Caleb pushed Jessica behind him, eyes sharp. What do you know about our past? Who are you? Her face congealed into a mask of disdain. It's not what I know, but what you fear will come to light. Secrets don't stay buried, and you have a choice to make, or better yet, I'll make it for you. Jessica held her breath, the atmosphere thickening, confusion and fear battling for dominance. They were doomed if they didn't confront her, if they didn't expose whatever darkness lay between them. In that moment, the soldier took a step forward, resolve shining in his eyes. We can't let her drag us into her game. We fight back. Together. Jessica echoed, feeling a surge of solidarity. They drew closer, forming a bond tougher than iron as they locked eyes in unspoken agreement. Before the dark woman could respond, the soldier pulled the trigger. The sound ripped through the air, stunning everyone into silence. The bullet didn't strike the woman. Instead, it shattered one of the glass panels, sending shards spiraling into the air. In the chaos of debris, Jessica seized her chance. Run! She yelled, movement propelled by adrenaline as they ducked and darted through the shattered glass, slipping past the dying embers of her taunts. The night air chilled the sweat on her skin, but the sense of freedom invigorated her heart like the first light of dawn. The three of them burst into the street, mere silhouettes against the backdrop of chaos behind them, breaths uneven and hearts racing. We've got to keep moving. Caleb urged, his voice raw as he surveyed the street. Shadows flickered along the buildings, but a sense of relief washed over Jessica. For now, they had escaped. But the lingering question of who was truly their enemy haunted her thoughts. What now? The soldier asked, breathless but determined. Now we fight, Jessica replied, feeling the weight of uncertainty mixed with a burgeoning sense of purpose. We find out the truth, and we end this. With a renewed glow of fire in their hearts, the three of them forged ahead into the night, knowing the road to liberation would be steep and fraught with shadows. But deep within, they felt the first stirrings of hope, because facing the labyrinth of darkness was a battle worth every ounce of courage they had left. As they stepped into the unknown, it felt like the closing chapter of one harrowing story, and the birth of another. The morning would bring new light, and with it, the promise of resolution and the fight for freedom. They just had to face the truth, no matter how dark it may be. And as they ventured into the night, the laughter of the unknown faded into the distance, but the certainty of survival surged within them. The fight wasn't over, but together, they were ready to embrace whatever would come next. You need to subscribe now and become part of our amazing community. This is the moment to show your support and help us grow. Smash that like button now, it really fuels the algorithm and helps more amazing stories reach your screens. Don't forget to flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this intense conclusion. We want to hear everything you think. And listen closely, don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your engagement is everything, and only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.